In the beginning, before anything was named, there was only the pleroma, the full, undivided ocean of existence. No self, no other, no knowing apart from pure being, just perfect, humming wholeness. Animals still live inside that wholeness. They have no experience of subject and object, which lends them a lovely innocent quality even when they act violently. What they do to the other, they do to themselves. Today the food is another, tomorrow it may be them. They are beholden to the species, not to the individual. They would never kill all their enemies to rise above nature. They eat until they are full, and then they stop. But consciousness had to be born. As soon as the first human whispered, "I am," the world cracked open. The pleromatic fullness split into knowing versus being. Suddenly we could think about reality instead of simply being it. We could name things, categorize them, turn the mind into a tool of science, a way to map nature, subordinate it, and bend it to our will. And with that single cut, the ego was born. The apple in Eden, the same poisoned apple the evil queen offers Snow White, is not just forbidden fruit. It is the seduction itself. The fruit was forbidden precisely because it creates a separation between humanity and God. In the pleromatic garden, animals and early humans lived in divine union. There was no guilt. Every action was part of a bigger picture, not an individual judgment. One bite, and the innocent child of pure being is yanked into the intellectual world of knowing. In that instant, the ego discovers its godlike power. I can judge. I can separate. I can rule the world and be like a god. Of course, it was human destiny to become aware of ourselves and the world as subject and object. We were always destined to leave the pleromatic Garden of Eden. The ego is not evil. It is necessary. But the moment it forgets it was born from the unifying pleroma, the moment it tries to identify and become the pleroma, that is when paradise is truly lost. Different tellings of the story show us what happens next. In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve are driven out into a wasteland, left to search for meaning in their fallen state. Snow White's tale, for example, unfolds differently. She does not get exiled, because her story stands in living relation to the evil queen, the very image of the ego at its darkest. In that darkened state, the ego wants to swallow the pleroma whole and erase every trace of the divine so it can rule alone. The queen is the worst-case future of Adam and Eve after the fall. Yet Snow White shows us how to find meaning once again. She does not truly die, for it is impossible for evil to erase good, just as it is impossible for good to erase evil in this earthly existence. Instead, she falls into a deep sleep, a passive state of meditation, as close to the beyond as she can reach. And from that stillness, a prince emerges, her animus, the unconscious masculine counterpart every woman carries, just as every man carries the anima. These archetypal partners are secret doors back into the lost state of being. That is why romantic love is so fiercely sought after. It carries the hidden promise of return to the garden. When any fairy tale ends with the couple living happily ever after, it whispers that they have found their way back through the gates of Eden. All human beings understand this instinctively, the same way a bird knows how to build its nest, or how every species carries inborn knowledge it never had to learn. When Snow White rides off with the prince, she has overcome the dark world of the evil queen and re-entered the Garden of Eden. This is how consciousness awakens, and how it first learns to fall, and then, through love, to rise again.